I need my agenda. Where's my agenda?
Hey, Deb.
Hey there.
You are admitted to.
Right.
Larry. You ready to go, or you still reviewing? Joey, you ready? Greg, Deb, you ready? All right. Click the button and make sure the blue light comes on. All right. It is 6 o'clock by my watch. I'm going to go ahead and call to order a June 18th workshop, budget workshop for the town of Tallulah Falls. And first thing on our agenda is for the council to approve our agenda, which is just the discussion of the budget for the fiscal year ending 2021. Do I have a motion to accept the agenda? Craig makes that motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Joey seconds. All in favor? All right, unanimous. All right, to start this off, I'd like to make a quick statement so we kind of know where we're going. And I want to start because there's been some communication with the council And I want to start by saying how much I do appreciate truly what Linda has contributed to this town and the insight that she's provided over the past year and a half. We've worked well together for the past several months, so this isn't anything about where she's fallen short in any way, the budget that I've proposed. What this is about is three things that I heard during the run-up to the election. One of them was that the majority of the people in town felt like the clerk's salary was out of sync with what it should have been. They have seen a serious reduction in the police presence in town, and that town hall is not being open from 9 to 5, 5 days a week. So my budget proposal that I sent out to y'all, to the council, and now to the public, was an attempt to meet all three of these needs. 67% of our voters elected me to come in and start putting this town back on what they consider to be the right track. That track being frugally minded with their hard-earned tax dollar. I feel like we have an obligation to listen to our taxpayers and I feel it's incumbent upon me to act on what the majority of our town expressed, even if it's not a comfortable action to take. I don't believe we have the right to sit here and dismiss the will of the majority and treat them like children because they don't know any better, quote unquote. The decision we make here tonight can be boiled down to one of two options in my view. One, we do what the 2/3 majority of our voters said they wanted, or two, we disregard their mandate and allow the very legacy that they demanded us to dismantle to continue unabated. This proposed budget, the one we will start with, is my intent on a first step in putting this town back on the right track that the majority spoke to me and said they wanted. Regardless of the council's decision, I feel like I've stated my case and I can stand before our voters and say with a clear conscience that I tried to do what they wanted me to do. I'll be able to point back and say that my hands are clean. So I'm just doing what I feel like the majority has said that they wanted us to do here. That's what I've presented. I've stated my case as clearly as I can. I'm going to leave it at that. So we'll get started, and I'm going to screen share the spreadsheet that I presented to the council. Let me get that pulled up so everybody can see it. And here we are. All right. So let's begin. If you want to, I've got it up on the big screen for council members that are here present with us, and the people participating at home can see this also. What I'm showing here in this spreadsheet in the green was what fiscal year 2018 to 2019, I believe is what actually came in, Linda. Those are our actual numbers from 2018, 2019. The row next to it is what has actually come in this year so far. The last column is what is based on what we got this year. And I highlighted on this sheet, I've highlighted the numbers so that we could see the difference. And we're basically looking somewhere at about a $44,000 loss between 2018, 2019, and this year. So that's our starting point. Linda, it's a decrease in revenue. Linda can answer that one way better than I can, because it has to do with vehicle tax. And
I'm just
Yeah.
curious as, we had a drop of about 44,000, you're saying, and I just wondered why.
yeah, I just want you to speak into the mic so people can hear you more.
Thank
I'm sure they'll figure it out. So, yeah, Linda, can you?
So in our fiscal year ending 19, our total revenues were $398,141. This year so far on, I know the spreadsheet that you have only goes through May 19th, which has most of our annual income in there. We get very little towards the end of our fiscal year, but there was a change back in 2013, I believe, of the motor vehicle tax. And they warned us that it would happen over time. It was going to roll out over time, and they had hoped that it was not going to affect the cities or the county in a negative way. So this has been the first year that those revenues have really tanked. So if no one's buying new vehicles or new to them at least, then that revenue that we were getting, we get on the front end now when someone purchases a car. But before, you remember, you would always renew your tag, at your birthday. And now if you purchase the vehicle, you're paying all of that tax up front. So it's changed the way the revenues have come in on that particular item. And it was set, GMA had gathered information from us, from all the municipalities, and was ready to take that to task this year at the legislative level because it has hurt the cities. So unfortunately, that's probably not going to, I don't know that they don't make this session with all the COVID-19 situation going on. But if it doesn't, I know they'll be taking it up again next year, but that's, it may take a while to, work something out or, get a different plan on the ground. But we had a couple of big years, and then we knew it was going to go down, but we had no idea that it would, go down so much so fast.
The short version.
That was a loss of about $6-7 grand. Probably a little more than that.
Yeah, if you look at,
Overall, we're not that bad on revenues compared to budget, but just in that particular item, it didn't come in. Some other things came in above, but that came in way below.
Need my glasses, I was down at another.
Okay.
Proceed with capital assets.
yeah, when I talked about $44,000 differences between last year's budget at 352,700 to what we're having to budget with this year's 307,227, which is closer to what actually came in last year. So it's a different in budget amount, whereas the actual amount we're missing out on is closer to 90,000 between 2019 and this year.
Well, no, not
Oh,
this
wait,
year.
no, I said that wrong. 70,000
Through the middle of May.
through the middle of May. Okay.
But we didn't budget as much as we received in 2019. So we're not that short.
Yeah, and part of that is reflected by our fines and forfeitures having dropped by roughly 30,000. But we didn't budget. I'd actually budgeted 81,000 for that last year. So
And our fines and forfeitures through the end of the May court, we're back up to 112 already. So we've still got June's court to go.
some of that was that before the COVID shutdown?
And so we did not have court in March or April, but we picked back up in May. So we had a big month in May, and then we'll have June, and then July is going to be a really big month because most cases got reset for July.
So, another thing we're not including because we don't have the data is anything from Blue Line. It'd be smarter to wait to have actual real numbers for next year's budget before we try to. If they put those things in and everybody slows down like we want them to, we won't see a dollar.
So real quick, can I tell you on the revenues to today? We're at 342,185 compared to 352,700. So right now we're about a little over $10,000. From what was budgeted.
Okay, so we've got a little bit of room to move, understanding that correctly, from our real number to our budgeted number. We're showing 30. This one right now is showing 307 for a budget.
Right. So what we've collected so far this year was the 342, 185. So budgeting at 307, is probably on the very, very conservative end.
Based on the average going on now, by the end of the year, do you think we will get pretty close to that budget? Hard to say now because all our year is not calculated yet.
Right. I do think we'll probably make that budget or very, very close to it because we've still got our June court. And then, we still get, little things trickle in on, our taxes, our motor vehicle taxes. I think we got a big $23 check today on motor vehicle tax.
We're in the money now.
Yeah. So we're good to go now. So anything can come in, but it's other than court will be the big one for the rest of the month.
Linda, will the July fees that come in, will those go into this year's budget or into next year's budget?
So it will count in this year's budget. So we'll have a full 12 months in this year. So if it's incurred, and even if it doesn't get actually paid out until after, July 1st, if it was revenue for June, it will still count for this year.
No, it's not Keith. So maybe someone has a radio or a TV going on in the background.
Oh, that's me. Do I need to move to a quieter location or mute myself?
No, I think you'll be fine as long as we know that someone's not trying to speak.
No, it's my dad listening to TV in the next room.
All right.
But I can mute if it gets to be distracting.
She's not in the waiting room at all. So, all right. So, do we have any other questions about where we are on our revenues page? Move on to our legislative tab. All right. Not a whole lot. On the legislative, I don't know if there's really any room to change or move or look that around. Y'all have any questions about what we've got going there?
Really don't have much flexibility in all those categories, do we?
I don't think so. I think those prices are pretty set.
So really, the only thing that changes very much from year to year is how much training the council may want to do. And so, we try to gauge, your participation in training events and conferences and that kind of thing to make sure there's enough money for education and travel. But the rest of it is pretty much set.
Where was our training? There it is. At 1,500 for training. That's up from the 2019, but slightly down from last year's budget because we didn't use all of it with the three of us that went to training this year. So
We new council members.
mine would have come out of the executive, but Joey and Craig would have come out of this section.
And I think Joey still has expenses that he's planning to turn in. So their
Okay.
year-to-date may change a little bit.
Okay. All right. So, do you have any questions? Anybody want to look at increasing the training amount or anything else in there? All right. Let's move on to the executive. It's going to be about the same. I did, on that just a little bit. One thing I did do is I took out training for executive. We had, what did you have in there? Did you have 500 or 1,200? Okay. 1,250, something like that. I took it out, having the training earlier this year. If I decide to go do anything, if something comes up, there are some classes I'm interested in. I'll come back to council. I'll ask for that on a case by case basis, as I see that something comes up that would be interesting for me. Just trying to get the numbers to add up a little bit better. So let's see. Let's go on to admin, and this is where we need to decide which direction we want to go. So starting right here at the very top with regular employee salary, I've got it at 21,000, where Linda in her budget proposal she sent out first had 36,000 there. I think we did 36, 12, and 12. Is that correct? So well, EMS is going to be, theirs is separate because they're a revenue fund. So they're different. They're anything that goes to pay for EMS comes out of what water earns every year. So we'll keep them out. Yeah, those stay separate. Now, out of water, we do pay Linda a portion of her salary. And I've got in the water section right now, I've got her at 7,000 in there. Well, not Linda. I want to be clear. It's just the clerk's position. So if y'all decide to go and you want to keep Linda on and pay the higher salary, these numbers need to change. If not, if we will have to get a new clerk. It's pretty plain, pretty obvious. We would have to get a new clerk if we want to use these numbers. So what I did was kept the same proportions for this, and that would work out to 35,000 a year with 21 here, 7 out of water, and 7 out of port. And that's how we're breaking that up.
I can't hear Larry at all.
You'll have to speak into
Or at least if it's not set, we don't have much control over it. We don't know how, we can't dictate our power bill and our various other, expenses or.
Yeah, I don't think there's a whole lot of room other than the salary in administrative, is there? I mean, there's training and some other things in there, but those are going to be the same. Some of the numbers we're not going to know are going to be these like Social Security, Medicare, and so forth. That's going to shift based on what salary y'all decide tonight to go with. I don't know that this form will change based on that or not.
But in this administration fee, that's where we've got the poll worker added cost.
Yeah,
Estimated added cost, $5,000 a minute.
yeah.
We do have some, advertising and, understand the printing and stuff. What's the advertising?
When we have
Plus $500.
the meetings, any meeting or anything that we do, we have to advertise.
That way, that's in the actual newspapers.
Yeah, putting the
Also-
advertisement in the
also
newspapers.
much?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's what?
I've
50?
never advertised.
So that's not like our regular meetings, but like zoning hearings and election notices, certain legal requirements that we have to
Right,
do.
so that's y'all's budget. Okay, that's what's going on. We went to paper ballots outside of the electronic system for voting since we have such a small contingency of elected.
That's a discussion we are going to have to make. What I've been waiting for is the new voting machines, waiting for that to come, the final dollar amount to come in, because we didn't know what to project. We had been paying, I think, $3,600 per election, and that was them bringing a machine. No, that was us going there. May have been when they brought the machine here. I can't remember. Long and the short of it is, even if we do it here ourselves, we've still got to pay poll workers. And we can go to a paper ballot, and it would probably be cheaper to do it here. But we've got to pay poll workers for 3 weeks for early voting and for the day of the election. So it's still going to cost us close to $3,600, even if we do our polling here locally on a paper ballot. The state does have that option for us, and it's something we need to talk about. But the problem we have right now is we do not have an election superintendent available to be able to manage that. And we'd have to send our clerk to school to get that done. And I think that happens late in the year, like in the fall, right? So
the 5,000 you have allocated is for machines.
would be for either the machine to come here and pay the election workers. The county is not allowed to charge us for the use of the machine.
Okay.
But they charge us for the workers that have to come here on site on the day of, because we do all our early voting at their location in the county.
I enjoy voting here, but
Yeah.
it's costly.
Yeah.
And the way it was explained to me, Greg, was, the county not allowed to make a profit. They'll provide that service, just cover their costs. We looked at it 2 or 3 different ways, and it just seemed like the fact that we wouldn't have to organize it ourselves. Qualified poll person, and have somebody sitting here and even guarding the machine for 24 hours before the election and all. When you put all the figures together, it just seemed to be more economical and easier just to let the county do it. And I think they agreed at $3,600 and they take the whole thing.
Yeah, part of our problem is that if this building is adequate to hold the election based on the Secretary of State's evaluation, then we can't hold all of our elections in one location without getting special permission. We can apply and ask the Secretary of State to declare that, or explain to them why this wouldn't be an adequate location. Then all of our elections, all of our pre-voting, early voting, and the day of could happen in Raven County. But as of right now, the way that I understand the way the law is written, we still have the day of. We still have to have our election here and use their machine to do it, which means an added expense of having those poll workers come, having 3 poll workers come here that day and pay them separately than if they were all in one location.
I was thinking that we only had to do it last year because we didn't get it all organized and set far enough in advance of an election. But this year that we would be able to just simply turn it over to the county and have it take place at the county was my understanding.
Yeah, we'll have to get Warren to look into that. And this can be that discussion later. But from the way I read the way the law is written, it basically if you've got an adequate polling location in your precinct, you can't just move it out of the precinct for just any reason. You got to have a good cause to move it, because it creates a hardship on some of your voters by doing that.
If
Or-
the,
Go ahead.
if the county's giving us an option, you've got mail, you can do early voting, the least costly. Why would you not go that way?
They're all trained, as you say, Joey. They're experienced. They do it every day. They have
Turn this down just a little. Can we turn this down just a little?
it's like a no-brainer.
It's coming into my meeting. I'm in the dining room on my meeting.
Legal issues of it, but just seemed to be a lot less aggravation on everybody. Do it
Yeah, it is.
county level, but
What we don't know this year is what the ultimate price is going to be this year, because it's going to go up. The new voting machines, the cost of the paper, the cost of the ink and toner, or whatever they're using is going to calculate in. We've got to get with Tammy here after this election, or the one that just went by. I'll talk to her and try to see if she can come up with a hard number for us to then say, this is how much it would cost for us to do it. Continue doing it with the county, which is fine, based on then what it might cost if we wanted to bring it all back in-house. And then we'll talk about that in a later day. But right now, we've got it set up with the county, and that's what we're budgeting for, is to continue doing it with the county.
Well,
So-
the other issue that I would see we would have here is you're splitting 2 counties. I
Correct.
mean,
It creates a bit of a headache come time to do our city elections, but to do it in Raven County, but we've been doing it, and that's what we're budgeting for. And so we're just going to look and see what the new price tag is going to be, and then see if it's worth investigating another option. I don't know that it will be. We got to see the numbers first. Right now at $3,600 per election, it's definitely worth continuing doing it with the county.
seems to me,
Yeah.
whatever amount they feel like they have to go up, be across the board. I mean, it won't go up just on us, and it'll probably go up on anybody else that they're handling, I would say.
Well, it depends, but there's going to be the added cost of having to deliver these machines, because they'll have to get a truck with a lift gate to bring it here on the day of the election, unless we can figure out how we can actually move the polling place up to Raven County completely. I still don't think we can do that on the day of. I think it's going to be a hard sell. So, but like I said, that really needs to be a conversation down the road so we can keep going on the
Yeah.
budget.
And it will cost us a little more because the other cities have already moved to just doing it at the county level. So, she was hoping that everybody would be able to, but of course, because that makes it easier for them and less expensive because they can share the cost. But they've done an evaluation on this building. We really haven't heard if our electricity has the capacity to run the machines, that kind of thing. So
So,
there's still some things to be
Okay, so-
determined.
so if the state Secretary of State's office comes back to us and says your building is not adequate, that will give us we'll have to choose at that point whether we need to find another location in our precinct or if we can make the argument that we want to move it up there. And we also need to talk to our voters and kind of see get a feel for it from them, because I know when it was talked about moving it all up to Raven that last year, that there were people, mostly our elderly voters, didn't like that because it added an extra strain to them to have to go vote at another location. They'd rather vote here. So, but as I say, we can get into the weeds on that later. I think it's wise to go ahead and plan for staying with the county for now. Just know that price is going to go up a little bit. We just don't know what that number is yet.
Can we move to the next item?
Yeah.
All right, economic development. I asked the question earlier and you guys had answered. 9,000 that went to the DDA. What's the budgeted 10,500 for just finishing off this year?
Okay, where are we on
Yeah,
that?
I don't have my glasses, so I'm trying. I think I'm reading. 90. It's near the bottom.
Near the bottom.
Economic development.
So the 9,000 is what we gave to the DDA.
Right. I know that. What's the 10,500 coming up?
That was the total budget for this year.
Okay, okay. I got you. With the 9,000, it's
Right.
That was for 2020.
not budgeted ahead.
No. So in the last column, we've got a 0
There it is.
budgeted for next year, because the DDA had reached out and said that they didn't feel like they needed any more revenue. They had plenty left over, and they didn't expect any expenses this year. So. All right. We have anything else on the administrative?
Well, is this the proper time to talk about employee salaries?
Yes, I believe so. I believe this is where we need to make that change.
I just want to reiterate something that I said in my email. Marcia, Patty, and Jessica, all three said that they needed a second person to help them with their workload. And that they felt that we needed a second part-time employee to be in there. And so it's one of the reasons I'm concerned about putting somebody in there who's inexperienced as well as, or at least inexperienced with our town, only to find that it's still not going to be adequate for them. So I just wanted to make sure that I said that. So.
All right.
And I sent it out in the earlier email, my feelings. I think it's a bad time right now to make a change. Especially
Okay.
with the 2-county system we have, it's kind of a unique position. So it's kind of not as fair to compare our clerk to other municipalities, from what I can tell. That's
Okay.
one concern I have.
And having said that, I want to say that I appreciate all your points that you've made, Mike. I mean, you can't get blood out of a turnip. I understand that, and it's got to come from somewhere. I just think that, speaking from a place of having the experience of being through this for the last 10 years with our staff, I just think that it would be a bad investment to be making. So just saying. Okay.
Okay. So, Joey, you have anything to add? You want to?
No, I mean, I agree with Greg and Deb. I think there could potentially be some compromises, but weighing the whole thing out, I don't see making a change.
Okay. And if you could speak into your mic, you don't need to repeat yourself, but so we've essentially, Larry, do you want to weigh in?
Other than say, I'm gonna go along with the majority council in this case.
Okay.
You all know my saying, and that is, sometimes you have to look at the whole picture and the big picture and see if the juice is worth the squeeze.
All right. So what I'm getting is a consensus from council that they want to set this number back to what it was last year. This 21,000 for the salary of the clerk. We want to put that back to 36. And then make the adjustments in the other two categories as well.
I do.
So that's basically the consensus that I'm getting from council. So I'm going to make those changes on this right now so we can see what that does for us. Glasses on to see that far. So that was.
And I appreciate the amount of work that's gone into making all of this work. And I understand it has to balance and it's got to come from somewhere. But it just seems like it would be penny wise, pound foolish to make that change at this point.
All right. So by making those changes, the general fund revenue, we are now $20,000 short for the budget. There's some other places we can take out and put in. So let's go ahead and move on since we've pretty much covered the admin fees. And like I say, I don't know how this column calculates for Social Security and all those other things.
I had mine to automatically do it, but I'm not sure what you did with
Yeah.
yours, so.
This one's the only one that came in that automatically everything else was, this is still your side. Yeah, so there's going to be this number's going to change slightly, but we'll get that calculated out before the first hearing and make sure that we're not off somewhere. We'll tweak that later. I just want to point that out, that number is going to probably change right there. So, all right, let's go into the court budget. There's, let me see, we made that change to the salary here, matched it back up to last year's. And there's, I don't know that there's much more in court other than that salary to deal with.
Yeah, the judges has not changed the amount that's there for this budget. I'm not sure, but the 3,800 is what we pay him a year. So that number for this year would be the same.
Okay. And some of y'all know this, our new council members may or may not know it. This section right here within our court fees, I don't know why we have so many zeros here, but don't they fluctuate and they're based on the citation?
So let me explain that. If in 2018, 19, when I first came to work here, we were doing everything actually through, I think, the police department at that time. It was all budgeted under police. And I pulled it out under court for that year, but it's really supposed to be handled under an agency fund. So it's a different account because it's a pass-through account. We collect the fine on a ticket. There's certain add-ons that are state mandated that we pay out of those tickets. So those are not our revenues nor our expenses. So all that initial fine money goes into an agency fund, kind of like a trust fund, and then it's all paid out to the different, agencies that are supposed to get a piece of it. And then we get our fines and forfeiture number that's shown on our revenue sheet under fines and forfeitures. So that's not the total fines and forfeitures. That is our city portion of those.
Okay, so all these numbers mostly moved into under police then. That's why we're showing zeros here now.
No, they're not shown in the budget anymore.
Oh,
because they're not our expenses.
Oh, okay, okay. I'm with you now.
So the only thing that shows out of ticket fine money, that kind of thing, is shown as a revenue under fines and forfeitures, and that is just our city portion of the fines and forfeitures. And then the only other few things that are in those columns are like witness fees, you know, if we had to pay for a witness to be here, or an interpreter or a public defender, other than the judge. And
Okay. All right, so we've increased the salary amount for our court clerk position, and everything else is pretty much kind of feels like it's pretty well set. There's not much wiggle room that we need to try to take. And if everybody's okay with that, we can move on to our police budget. And what I've got here, since Tanya has walked in, for anyone out there, she's standing behind us at the microphone. Because this was a preliminary budget to begin working with, I put in my numbers, and I'm going to let Tanya present her budget request, and we're going to have to kind of play around with these numbers a little bit. So I know that the salary level, I think so. I'll all right. So
Do you have a copy of the one?
yeah,
Sorry,
let's-
I've been on a domestic and kind of still in the middle of a call, so I had to run in real quick.
I don't think she requested to change too much in here. I know the salary was one of them. And if we're not going to be looking to try to find a second officer, we can take this 35 out, and then we can zero it out. I'll do that
I
right
got
now.
got a question there, just more for information. Tanya, when it comes to a second officer, and I'm not out that much, but I see the Georgia State Patrol out here. I see Rabun County to an extent. I don't know that I've ever saw Habersham County anywhere up in this area. Am I wrong about that? Is Habersham County?
They're up here quite a bit, actually. They respond to a few calls at Hickory Nut for me, and then they're usually out on this side, on the south side of town. They still help patrol the overlook and everything, and when I'm not here, they'll come in town.
I mean, I know there's a lot of tax money that comes out of this area that goes to Rabun County
Mhm.
and Habersham County. In your opinion, are we getting the coverage for you out of them, you know, that we
Yes.
should have?
Yes, they actually, we talk quite often, and they're very helpful to me when I need something.
Yeah, a lot of the reason that I had tried to go for a second officer in town was, I know Tanya has a lot on her plate, and she's trying to get stuff done. She's trying to get to meetings, and she can't be out patrolling as much. And so people don't see our patrol car moving around, don't see her out moving around because she's busy doing something, or she's taking care of problems. There have been problems, I think, down at the campground. She's been having some issues down there. So I was looking at trying to find someone to free her up to be able to focus on GCIC this year and try to get us going on that, because that would be a great source of revenue for the town. But her being as busy as she is, I don't know. I haven't had a chance to talk with her.
That's the question I was having. Is on the GCIC thing, well, if you get that program up and running, have a full-time employee or employment with it? Or do you need someone full-time on that system? I think so, right?
Doing that, it would be to be able to bring in what we need.
I know that's looking to the future, and I know it should be in the budget right
They
now, so
definitely,
maybe
that would definitely pay their salary out of it.
all right, so
It wouldn't be coming out of the
an
town.
additional part-time officer would allow you to pursue those
If I could get,
extra income activities, which aren't speed traps.
no, true. If I could raise my part-time up to double what it is now, that would,
Either or, so you're saying part-time and or.
if we do
part-time.
part-time for the moment, we're not gonna have to pay out
What's your part-time number? I'll plug it in.
20.
20? All right.
It was 10, and I thought if we could move it up to 20, that would give me 2 more days a week that I don't have now, coverage if I need it. Because like I said, there are, unfortunately for chiefs, we have to keep up double hours than what normal do, then plus our other hours. And today I've been in a class all day and then just got up here, went to a domestic. But that would give me somebody to be here while I go take care of some things, try to get some more revenue in with some of the grants. For them, I have to go to classes and go to demonstrations to get. I wasn't able to get one this past time. I wasn't able to pinpoint Mike down with a salary number, but the other one, we didn't have the numbers. They've never been generated from past administrations, but we have that going now. So hopefully we can do that. With Blue Line and with GCIC, that'll be able to bring enough in to pay for another officer. And hopefully next year, be able to put one on full time, be able to pay the insurance and everything that would come out, because that's going to be quite a chunk too that would come. And with part time, we're not going to have to pay that much out with it.
Yeah, it's just a chicken egg thing for us
Yeah,
right now.
It is.
It is.
It
It's
really
just a
is.
building block.
All right, is GCIC I'm just curious, will it fall under police once revenue?
Yeah, it has to
Parts.
fall under police.
Okay, that's good. That's what
Yeah,
I was just
because
checking.
it's,
Just making sure it wasn't getting pushed.
GCIC, it has to fall under the police department. So that, in the class I was in today, I was talking to a department that already has it. They're, very helpful to get things going. And I've got actually some businesses I've already spoke to, just kind of put them on hold about it until we can get something going with it.
You'll need a facility for that as well, right?
I will. I'll need some room to put some people.
Like a separate building or separate area?
It would be a separate,
Lockable?
it's got to be a total secure area that have like 2 different doors to get into it.
That could be, okay.
If we start out small, I could be able to possibly do it using my office. And then once it grew, we'd have to look at something a little bigger.
Yeah, and that's,
If we start out just small, then we'll be able to do it with what we have. And then the more it grows and then the funds come in, we'll be able
we
to.
just got to get over that
Expand it.
initial hurdle.
If you plug these numbers in though, based on what we've said here, doesn't that come pretty close to, at least for right now, balance?
Let's take a look. Back to the
Just rough numbers that I did, I thought
Yeah.
maybe it did.
rough number is that we're actually $6,000 in the black right now by making those changes. That does not include Tanya's request for the increase in salary for her.
Oh, I thought it did.
No, I didn't put that in yet. I can't remember what she was requesting.
I
be honest.
requested a small at 50 with hopes that it would have been more, but I was trying to at least get some of the other numbers down. But
50 there and you put the 20 on the increase you took out.
I took out the part-time, so
because even if we had got another officer, we were going to have to increase the fuel, increase everything. It's all going to go up
okay,
right now.
that's something's wrong with that number. Something's wrong with my number.
But you should have only gone back about 4,000.
About 4,000, you're right. So that number is wrong. Why is that? Supposed to be. Oh, I know one.
I had a budget of 10,000. Yeah, that will increase the coverage.
That's not in there either, though, is it?
It is.
It
You Put
is.
it in there, yeah. If we, for the time being, if we brought it back down to where we currently have it, and thinking ahead at possible additional revenues coming in that we can't really look at the moment, can you release funds then to increase that, go over budget?
You can.
Yeah, so let's maybe look at it that way. to
See,
if
with
it
doing
helps.
that, we could leave the part-time there, which
Don't mind, put the part-time back down. what, you say 10,000 or 12,000?
Yeah,
I
oh,
think
is it
that's
12?
right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it'd be 12.
12,000.
Be 12.
I'm messing that up all over the place, guys. I'm gonna have to write a new formula. Yeah, it is breaking all over the place. This plus this plus there. Still breaking. Why is that breaking? All right.
Mike, I think you put in 5,000 rather than 50,000.
Oh. Thank you. That's it. Thank you.
No charge.
I'm glad Keith can see that.
Yeah, it's hard. It's,
I can't see.
yeah, it's hard to see up here. You get a rough idea. So we're putting the part-timers back to what amount?
12,000.
12,000? All right. Now let's see what that does to us. That's better. All right.
So how are we now?
We're still 4,683 in the black. A lot of pizza.
So I do have a request.
I didn't change any other number here, so if you have other things
Well,
like, please.
there's a possibility if I'm not doing the other and having that much part-time, I could come down a little bit on a few things. But since we're doing that and I'm going to keep the salary there, it's going to pretty much double my hours to get things done and get things going, which I'm up here. I try to be up here, try to do the classes, try to get everything done. I put in for 50. If we're going to take that full-time out, if I could respectfully request to move mine up to 55, because I'm going to be spending even more time up here, which will be good for y'all. I'll still be here and trying to get all these systems going because it's going to take quite a bit of my time to get things going. And, you know, I don't like part-time jobs with all the things in Atlanta now. I'll never go back, but that will help me and plus get the two others going and start bringing in money. And the GCIC is going to help the town quite a bit. Like I say, I've already spoke to 2 or 3 different companies. They're waiting on me to call them. So hopefully can get it going and start getting something rolling in.
All right. Any, do you want to plug that number in? Do we want to discuss that some more?
Numbers compared to
Most
Or-
police chiefs run around 65,000.
Yeah, a true police chief that has a department under them does run between 60 to 70,000 a year around us right now.
And with me, I'm working 2 different counties. That puts a little more, but
There are a few that make less than that. Baldwin's chief, I believe, was making 46,000 this year, but they've got a new budget coming out. I don't know what they're putting in for that position this time. But that's the lowest one I've seen in this area.
One quick question. If programs got up and running during the middle of the year, not for the budget's sake, is it fair to say you could give additional compensation or vote?
Oh, heck yeah, yeah. You
at
can, we
that
can,
time,
we can
any
amend
time,
it.
right? It's not just now.
Yeah, the budget is, look at the budget as a basic guideline and a starting point to start the year. It can be amended at any time, up or down. So it's just where we have to start with it. It has to be balanced when we start. That's all the state requires.
It's kind of like if we start losing money, then we got to find some way to compensate for that too.
The idea of taking away that part-time, not increasing the hours wasn't, it was
I
just
agree.
intended to help the budget. So if you do need that help to get your DCI and some other stuff going,
That's
and
just
that
gonna
should
be,
offset some of your hours. That's what I'm trying to get.
it would, but since we're leaving it there, I'm gonna be here more to get all this going, so that would help compensate me and even more hours for me being here.
Well, I'm wondering if it wouldn't
Just
make
respectfully
more
requested.
sense to increase that part-time where we were wanting it, where she was requesting it, so we helping her
What we have in the black.
that difference, in the end of the
I mean, that would
part-time,
help me greatly.
into the part-time section, okay, let's
Either
see what
way.
our extra.
Or in her salary.
I mean, not being mean, but increasing the salary would be great for me and my family, but, you know, it's been hard at what I've had for the last year or so, but like I say, once the blue line starts coming in, that'll go in and I can put it
I'm not-
straight into
I'm just making a
part-time.
note for myself right now. So just y'all tell me where y'all want it. Y'all want to put it in her salary? Y'all want to put it in increasing her part-time?
What gives her more flexibility?
Go ahead, Deb. We didn't catch all of
Just
that.
said, what would give Tanya more flexibility to put it in which category?
I didn't.
I said, what would be Tanya's preference? What would give her more flexibility?
Most flexibility.
Well, I'm,
Putting it part-time or increasing your hours.
regardless, my hours are gonna be increased here anyways, getting all that
To,
started.
to me, I think you'd put it in our current personnel. Now, that's just a guess on your part-time, and if it has to increase in the future, and we do have additional revenue coming in.
And
Then it's
also,
Well, I will say this, some part-timers are not reliable, and there are days where she has to come back in because she can't get someone to work. Getting part-time work is difficult, right?
it is, and plus, like, we have paid holidays off. I've never had a paid holiday off. I'm always at work, so that would compensate me from all the hours I'm here and they're not.
So it makes sense to just put the additional funds in our salaried employee.
Okay.
Also, speaking of this in funds, I don't know if you've talked about the campground money. Georgia Power has donated in the past to the police, and I could use that and put in toward my part-time, and it could come from funds that we receive off of the box at the lake.
Windows.
Well, that's a, yeah, I've got a call into Georgia Power, but historically they've donated that to the police department over the years.
Yeah, and I could
So-
use that toward part-time.
You can't put it in the budget.
Not
So-
really.
Can I
Go ahead.
answer that?
Go ahead.
So what was done, or what I understand was done in the past, where it just kind of sat in a, a little
Sat in the
kitty
jar.
in the, yeah.
Donations.
Well, we can't do that. So it all has to run through our account. It all gets audited as a part of the budget. But if we can count on a certain amount coming in, then we can count on a certain amount for a specific item going out. So it has to run through the budget. But if you think you're going to get $1,000 in campground donations, and that's an extra $1,000 you can add to part-time budget or whatever. But it all has to go through the.
Is it a guaranteed revenue?
That line item.
It's-
So we've always
it's up
had
and
it
down.
before. Now in the last year, it's been next
All the
to
boxes have been
nothing
broken
because,
into.
yeah, she's had so much trouble with break-in.
Okay, that's why I found
Yeah, but now
That's
we
why she's
have.
down there so much.
We have a new lid. Georgia Power actually put cameras this past week down there, so anybody that touches anything will be caught from now on.
So it's not exactly like income to the police and income going, it's kind of like the volunteer fire department has a separate account. It's not like that, because they're a different kind of
So
setup, but
again, we don't have to address it in the budget right now. If it does come in,
if it comes in, it's
No,
gravy.
then she can use it
Right.
against whatever she wants.
Yeah, what Tanya's gonna ask, and we'll discuss it at our next council meeting, is that we do earmark that officially for police use, whatever it is. whatever
That's
that
the intent
amount
of it
is.
from the donor.
Right. And so that'll be in our next council meeting. We're going to make it official that whatever does come in does go toward police use.
And that's,
So,
Mike and I have talked about that before. There's ways to assign money. So you can do that to where it's shown us on your balance sheet. It's a part of your fund balance. So when Jolie does our audit, she's going to probably included all as fund balance, but on the balance sheet I print out for you guys every month that, it will say assign police. Or, we just have to, we can internally assign it.
Because that's one of the things we're talking about with the, especially with the fire department, to incentivize the fire department to start getting back into doing our own repairs on the trucks, changing the oil, stuff like that, like we used to. If we can earmark whatever's left at the end of the year for the fire department to be able to use the next year for something else, buying new equipment, something like that, that helps save the town money in the long run if we can do it. And that's how the topic kind of came up, to be able to know that we can officially earmark it. One council can earmark it, and there are other regulations on it, but we can get into that later.
Right. So one council doesn't bind the next. So the next council could, of course, change their mind and do something different with it. But it does kind of give it a placeholder, on the balance sheet. And so that works for, your budget doesn't roll over. If you have money at the end of the year, you don't get to use that in the next year necessarily without it being a budget amendment by the council, but you can flag it as assigned money. So, we didn't get to that expense this year, kind of like the road issue. We're not going to get to the road paving by the end of June. So, but that's still road paving money that we need to use for the road paving. So, you flag it and you use it, as soon as you can.
Okay, so I feel like I'm getting a consensus from the council. If you want to put what we have as additional revenue, this 40, I can't read that. 4683, all into the chief's salary right now.
I think that's fine for right now, as long as we don't run into something else that's gonna throw us
We're
negative.
going to run into something when we get to water. So, but that may fix itself. We'll see. So, Craig, yeah, Larry, Deb. Okay, that's where we'll put it. All right, so we will do. Okay, someone catch me if I do this wrong. I'm doing it wrong. 54, 6, 8.
Can you make it 55 just for sake of simplicity or not?
I can,
I just wondered.
except I got to hit the zeros after I hit the 55.
Sorry.
There we go. All right. So
Negative.
that's going to put us a little negative. It puts us negative $700.
Like I said, he'd write you a check for that.
So like we
trade your
said,
tires.
those numbers will probably change a little bit based on taxes and that kind of thing. So, but we've got some flexibility and,
Yeah,
other line items that we can move it around.
because our
That's close.
bottom line revenue budget right now is 307, whereas our real money that came in this year is 329. So we still have a little bit of room to go back up somewhere. I don't know where we'll do it, but we can find it. We can look around. All right. So was there anything else in police for these numbers, these other numbers about
They're good.
IT and equipment,
Yes.
vehicle? Everything else was good. Okay.
Everything's good.
All right.
If y'all are finished with me, if you would excuse me, I've got to go finish a call. I kind of left in the
Stay
middle
safe.
of another one to run to. Thank y'all very much.
Be careful. All right. Then let's move on to fire. There's not much change in here. Anytime you have a departmental head change like we did, it's kind of difficult to communicate and get things worked out and ironed out. So I wasn't able to really communicate very closely with Paul to try to get this ironed out. I did a lot of this on my own. So if he's upset with anybody, he needs to be upset with me. Left pretty much everything the same except what did I change? Took out some
Notice down there on miscellaneous expense, is that just like $11?
miscellaneous expense.
Very bottom. Oh, I'm sorry, that's police. Never mind.
Oh, okay. Uh, I'd taken some out of this, so I'd like to try putting it back if I can, because I was trying to make those other numbers work. And right in here somewhere. There it is. Let's see, 7. What did you have on general supplies?
Was it 3,000?
Was it 3?
On vehicle, there's 5,000.
Oh, you did have 25? Number's not adding up to the 10,000 that was over here. Well, let me do this. There it is. So safety was, I dropped it down, so let's put that back up. That actually went up. Those were your numbers.
The only difference I saw was in vehicle, $1,000. Like yours.
On mine, where's my vehicles?
You're at 4 and
Hers was
she
at,
had 5.
she was
yeah.
at 5? Okay. Maybe where it was.
The only thing I could tell. I should have brought it 25,950.
I'm at 26,492. So see where we are back here real quick. So that's 2,242 that we're in the negative right now. If we make those changes to the fire department. There are a lot of numbers in here that really can't move much. Insurance that's mostly cancer insurance, and that's mandated by the state, and a couple other things. And we've got workman's comp somewhere in here that's mandated by the state. This $200 for the heavy use thing it's a big joke, really. The state says that because we use their roads to go to a fire and we use our big trucks on their roads, that we need to pay them some money to help cover the cost of repairing that road. And I'm like, yeah, but we're responding to help save your taxpayers' lives and everything else. But no, they started that about 5 years ago, something like that.
Can't we just let everything burn?
May have to. If we're $200 short on our budget, just park the trucks. Anyway, I'm not sure what the dues and fees are. Then we have our training budget is down a little bit, but if Paul comes in wants more money for training, I'm sure we can find it somewhere, because keeping those guys trained is pretty important. Yeah, the county, the state, everybody, we get a lot of free training, but every once in a while there'll be something like we want to go down to. A couple of years ago, 3 of us went down to Forsyth and took a class, so we used that money to help cover our hotel costs for the 3 days we were there, and that was really beneficial to the fire department. So that's what that money gets used for. 1 year we used it to buy this projector we're using right now, so that we could do in-house training. So the safety right here is actually based on a safety grant that we'll get, and that's in the.
Oh, that's why. I was going to ask about that.
That's where that is. We split that, usually split it evenly between the fire department and police department. There's 6,000 total, and that's through GMA. So you'll see a line item back in the general fund revenue for $6,000 in safety grant money, and that's where this is where we plug that money into. We've gotten quite a few nice things out of that. Yeah, I'm curious what that is, what that's about. 2019, we spent 2,086 on dues and fees, but I don't know what's categorized as dues and fees for the fire department. We don't, right now, we don't. Oh, okay, radio maintenance contract. Yeah, we'll be discussing that in depth here in the very near future. Okay, now that makes sense. All right, so there's really not much else in the fire department budget, unless y'all have more questions. Anything we need to address on that? All right, move on to roads. Blow this up just a little bit. No salaries in roads, so Greg, you don't get paid. Right. I had taken 5,000 out of tree trimming because most of our roads are in Rabun County, and they come out and do the trimming for us free. The cutbacks, I think, twice a year they'll do it for us, and then Gary's been doing some of it for us here last few days, and they'll be here for another month and a half, so we can get some more done. Don't know if we need to add something in here or not. So go ahead, Deb.
I'm just saying it's fixing to get pretty noisy here, so you might want to mute me. Our 2-year-old just woke up.
All right. So we're already 20 something thousand in the hole. Be honest, with as little, other than the county coming out and doing it, I think I don't mind going up from time to time if it's something I can handle and cut back a few branches here
Yeah,
and
I'm good
there.
with that. That's
So just
fine.
leaving it out would be good. All right. Let's see. I don't think I changed anything else in that. Double check that number. I've got 30,000. You take out that 5. Yeah, 30,800.
So I think that only gives us the 800 per month for Manuel, so it doesn't give us any room for extra projects.
Yeah, the 9,600 is Manuel's right away work. So if we want to increase that a little bit, like when he came out and cleaned the gutters, I don't know if that cost us a little bit extra or not. Get leaves and stuff out of our gutters one year, or not, what was that, back in the spring.
We had him do a little bit of ditch work, I think, this year, so. The tree trimming in the alternative budget was 1,500, and 9,600 on the right-of-way maintenance. So if you take the tree trimming out completely, you may want to put that in the right-of-way maintenance for special projects, just to give us a little cushion. Or we can address it as it comes up, whichever.
Yeah. Right. We can put it back in tree trimming and just shift it if we have to. All right, so the 15, you're back in there. That puts us back at 32,300. That's going to give us a negative 3,742 right now on our.
The only thing we've got left, water.
Water, and water is going to be separate, except that we may need to infuse a little money from the general budget to make it float this year. which,
That's what concerns me is 3,000 under right now. I mean,
well, yeah, we're 3,000 under, but we're still $20,000 under what actually came in this year so far. Yeah. So all we have to do is adjust where we think that revenue came from over here, where we think it's going to come from. We can bump that back up.
So we'll get through water, we'll see where we're at, maybe adjust some revenue numbers.
Right, 'cause
based on Linda's experience.
right now with this
What
number at 3,700 or 307,000 is also including that initial 7,000 that I took out to cover the water clerk as we would salary.
Okay.
That's in that section. So we're increasing that to 12. So, right, let me go ahead and do that right now. Negative. So that puts us at 8,000 down right now. But there's some things that need to change in water that affect it differently. So I think you transferred only 10,000 over, correct? So there's a difference in there when you do it. We'll need to look at. All right, so let's get into water. Make sure I did do that. I did right there. All right. So there's where we did the 12,000 increase for salary. That's where that interfund transfer is coming from. It's coming in here as revenue because this is where the water differs. We actually have a revenue section in water and we have an expense section. So
In the budget. I mean,
this is their budget. The water numbers do not calculate into the general fund except when we do this interfund transfer. So let's come up here to the revenues. We're looking at a gross profit this year so far of 77,964, but we've got 2 months, 1 month. No, we're done. But this is reflecting May. Just through May. So what was our real? Do we know our real number this year? I guess it also depends on when people pay their bills because we can't count it until we got it.
it doesn't count when you bill it.
I wish. Yeah, well, some of this water use could be down because of, it's not really down. When did we make our change? Was that last budget?
Mhm. It
Exactly a
started
year
with the new
ago.
budget year.
Okay, so that's why we've got a difference.
So which number, just the water charges or the total revenue? Which one you want?
I've got the gross profit up here is 77,964.
So we're at 80,047.
80,047. So my question is, well, why are we showing? That would be 106. Let's zero this out so I can. That's 106,780 without the general fund transfer. How are we coming up with that number? Are we picking up more customers? Somewhere we're expecting.
That would be nice.
you mean the 158, that number you're talking about?
Yeah, well, no, that's last year's budget. Right now, the money we've actually got that actually came in this year is 80,000 something. But we're estimating that we're going to have $106,000 come in.
Oh, well, you have to take out the 50,000 from SPOS.
Thank you. Okay.
That makes sense.
Okay. There we go. That answers that. All right. So that number's not that far off. That's what I was not seeing. Okay. So we're looking at a potential of 118,780 coming in this year. I believe that 50,000 from SPOS. I know we're using it somewhere.
And the 50,000 is kind of a placeholder. I don't know that that's, etched in stone or anything. Depending on how far we get through this project and what's left, it's more or less a placeholder. It's offset in the expense column by the exact same amount for capital, so.
Yeah, well, that's what I thought. And we still have that Gorge View project, which you all saw that email today. That tank, we should be getting that in, but unfortunately, some of that's going to fall into this next budget somehow. We didn't get the job done.
Again, it's coming from, I mean, it's not operating money anyway, so we may have to do some amending to make it come from the right place, but.
Right. Now, I did come in here and I pulled this IT services out and made it 0 because I don't know that they have an email account. They don't use a computer.
No, we don't pay anything in water on IT anymore.
Okay,
So that's from the beginning of the year when we did.
Yeah. So I came in and I yanked that out of there. I don't know what the technical other is, but I'm sure it's got to do with water testing, additional testing. Like if we have a water line break and we have to get the EPD has to sign off, that's probably what that $100 is for. Larry, you know that one? We got our water testing. This 975 is our contract with the state where the EPD tests our water throughout the year. And we maintain and we manage that contract. This $100 is for incidental. If okay,
That's what we've spent this year is actually for rekeying the buildings.
oh okay, all right.
Just a little bit.
Okay.
Just have that sort of plugged in there.
So under what, on the water testing?
Yeah.
Or whatever, like you said, this particular time, some of it got used for rekey and some of the stuff.
Well, no,
Technical
that's
other.
technical other is where the rekeying went. The
Water testing.
The testing, and our EPD contract is actually 930. And then we've had a couple of additional testing where we had to take it somewhere, for a boil water when the tank was down. So that's all of that.
Have we included in this the cleaning of the tank this year? Needs to be done anywhere?
No.
Okay. Because do we even have an idea of what that might be yet? It's going to include some new engineering for companies to come in and do what they want to do to clean that out. We don't even have a clue what that's going to be yet.
Linda, I think, did I hear some figures that were just talked about, paid somewhere around $4,000 in the past to get it cleaned?
So
Does that
several
sound
years
right?
ago, I think it was about 45, so
Yeah, that
46.
1,000 to 45, so I would anticipate it'd be somewhere along that. We're gonna have some additional engineering fees in an attempt to get adequate water source up there to be able to clean the tank this time
Right.
around.
Yeah.
Where we've been using alternative sources for water, we want to try to get some kind of a source up there on site that's adequate to clean that tank. That's going to require Brian Rent to do some additional engineering work. So I
Right.
don't know what the cost is.
My understanding was they were gonna put in a hydrant that serve as a valve,
Yeah.
basically, to clean the tank, make it less costly,
Yeah.
having to go in and out with OSHA regulations.
Yeah. Yeah. It'd be cheaper to do what they're talking about doing than to send a diver in or especially
And that was gonna be, I thought they gave us a value on that, then you'd have the actual get the quotes based on having that tap, right?
Yeah, I haven't seen a bid for doing that yet.
Oh, so he's waiting on the
He was
engineer.
waiting on the engineer. I
Mhm.
think Brian did get him something last week or week before
It's
last.
just cost on.
Seemed to recall that being mentioned in an email that Brian did get him something
So
finally.
we need to come up with a value rough, put in the budget. this go
Well,
around.
There's
I don't
some
know.
water system repairs and maintenance that is
Yeah.
in the budget.
That'll
It may not
cover.
be enough to get us that and everything throughout the year, but right. Well,
That's-
I'm not sure what you have in yours. I have 15,695.
I've got 16,395 in here for water system repairs.
Okay. So we can pull it from that money and then if, you know, if we
looks
have
like-
to adjust later, it's going to come from the general fund anyway. So.
That looks like it should cover it. I mean, the
Yeah.
tap and all that's probably gonna be about 2,500. So, and then the cleaning the tank is where, let's just put escalation on that.
5,000,
Yeah,
65.
$500.
And
Probably we're gonna
the
have to-
part of it can probably be paid as a capital project.
Yeah, some of it can out of
So like
SPOS.
but not the actual cleaning.
We're looking at about $9,000 to $10,000
Probably.
with the valve.
With the valve. So, and then what I was trying to do is I had some extra revenue and I threw some extra numbers in here because my plan is if we have any money left over, we're going to throw it into putting 6-inch pipe on Gorge View and Hickory Nut every chance we get. So that's what I'm aiming at. And that's probably what my recommendation is going to start being is that if we have money left over in our budget this year, we earmark some of it for doing some additional water improvement projects around town or street.
Putting in a fund to go toward that. So you build it
Yeah,
up.
so we
you can
build it
actually
up.
do something significant.
Right. So if we get 5,000 this year and 3,000 next year, we just keep building that up. Yeah. So that's kind of what I've done. That's why my number's a little bit different than what Linda had. Obviously we can pull that down. So
Wait a minute, going back to that number then, that would cover the tank cleaning plus any other incidentals. 16.
yeah, that 16 hopefully will cover that. And hopefully we don't have any big repairs we have to have this year or have to replace a pump.
Yeah,
What
I'd
was
like
that? $4,500 for that one pump?
So we
Again, those are usually capital items, but like if you have a leak that you have to fix, then that's going to fall under your repairs and
so
maintenance.
around
too.
15 grand. I can't see what you got, sorry.
Oh, I've got 16,395 right now.
Need glasses.
And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, right now we're showing a net income of 5,000. That's with a $12,000 infusion from general fund.
Also, we'll get be able to use some SPOS against tank cleaning, is that right?
Not the cleaning,
Not-
but maybe for the putting in the hydrant and whatever.
Right.
we
The
do.
high part of that.
Part of that.
Right.
can
Right.
be,
The
yeah.
engineering and the actual cost to do that, just not
So-
the cleaning.
So if we go back up here to the general fund, where is that? Take this 12,000 down by 5. That would give us a 0. We make no money, but we don't owe any money. We just have to borrow $7,000 from the general fund as of right now.
And that's another thing that you all will need to decide is if it's $7,000, is that a loan or is that basically a grant from the general fund?
Yeah.
So you have to be able to mark that on your books if that's going to get paid back at some point, or if it's just a straight transfer.
It does when it comes to auditing time. the
Auditing
state's gonna
time.
wanna see that.
Yeah.
And here's my impression on that. Here's my argument for making it a grant to the water
Yeah,
fund.
grants.
Because keeping our water system healthy does benefit everybody in this town. We've got people on wells that aren't paying into this system, but when we go to put out a house fire or a chimney fire, we're gonna draw water off of this hydrant right here in front of City Hall. If the Demorest water system goes down for some reason, and we need fire protection on the Demorest side of town, we're gonna be pulling water out of this water system. So using taxpayer money to help supplement the water department does actually benefit our taxpayers in other ways, even though they're not getting water directly from that system to their tap. And that would be how I approach it. So I would say we do it as a grant, but we're hoping to target that we don't have to do that all the time.
I understand. So you're not pulling from taxpayers who aren't
Paying into the water or
Not penalizing
benefiting.
them.
Yeah,
So
yeah. You don't want to, but it does benefit them.
yeah, you got fire protection.
Yeah. So, let me, I muted Deb earlier, so I want to unmute her and see if there's anything she wants to say
No, I feel like that pretty well covers it. I agree with all that.
Okay. I don't hear any more background noise where you are, so I'm going to leave you unmuted for now.
There will be. There will be. We have a 2-year-old in the house now, so.
Right. Okay. So that being said, let's go back in here to the general fund revenue. We're going to change this to back down to 7,000. That leaves us 3,742 in the hole as of right now. And I think we can more than cover that. I just don't know where would be best to put it. I don't want to put it in fines and forfeitures but I don't know where else to pull from.
Well, your
What-
fines and forfeitures right now, you've got,
Go 102.
and we've gotten 112 so far this year.
Oh, we've got 112.
Mhm.
Okay.
So why wouldn't we put it in there?
Okay. Well, we can. So,
I
someone.
just quick, well,
Let me do a quick calculation in my.
You'll have to tweak it again on labor burden.
Yeah, we will have to do a little bit. But
100%.
it'll be. I'm going to guess it's going to be under 1,000 that we're going to have to fiddle with. So that would put us estimating our fines and forfeitures at 106,099. Off by one. So
Based on your numbers, brother, that seems to be
6.
the number, right? Okay.
Nope, wrong way. Oh, wait a minute. There is 99 cents sitting out there somewhere that's not getting calculated. So, because no matter what I change that to, unless I change it to 50, let's try that. Nope, that breaks everything. 106,099. See, we're still, I don't know why it's throwing that dollar out. It's because there's a rounding in there somewhere. It's showing that we're over by $1. So we'll keep tweaking it. We've got it within $1 right now. All right. That being said, is everybody satisfied? Everybody's ready to go home. I know. Joey forgot to bring the subs, I noticed. So, all right. Let's want to open up for comments from anybody for the workshop. We haven't really heard anything.
Can I say a quick comment?
Yes, please.
I just appreciate y'all's continued support, and I really enjoy working here. Thanks. And it's my birthday, so
Oh,
thank you
yeah.
again.
It is her birthday.
Birthday.
All right.
So
So
y'all made my birthday.
Are
Thank
we
you.
allowed to ask how old you are? No, we're not.
I can tell you.
No.
I won't do that. I want to live through the night. So, all right. So anyone that's online want to issue a comment to the council? If not, we'll close here shortly.
I just want to say, I really believe a lot in investing in people. If you take care of your people, everything else tends to fall in order. And I feel like this is a good budget that represents that.
All right. Doesn't look like there's anything else. So let's get a motion to adjourn. Joey makes that motion. A second by Craig. All in favor? Unanimous. All right. Wasn't as painful as some of us thought.
Thank you. And I'm looking forward to being back in Tallulah Falls next week.
All right. That what? Oh, yeah. Second.